Welcome back, college football fans. Welcome to the first and long college football show. Today we're going to be going over our updated top 25s. We are going to give you our week 3 predictions for the games coming up this weekend. And we're just going to chop it up college football style. And we're glad that you're here to join us. Please go ahead and like and subscribe to the video. I am your co-host, Marcus. This is your other co-host on this side, Mason. How you doing, Mason?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Coming off of an exciting week in week 2 and heading into what doesn't appear to be a very exciting week 3. And we'll get into that in a minute. But, college football is full of surprises. So you never know. This could be an upset riddling week, but I don't really see that happening so far based on these bets and these picks that we're going to get into at some point. But yeah, I'm excited to talk a little bit about football. We're still kind of coming off of that high from the weekend, and seeing Texas win, seeing Texas A&M get beat.
Yeah.
It was a fun weekend. There was a lot to like about this weekend. As college football fans, not from not of any sort of bias or of any sort of team bias or anything like that. But just as college football fans, there's a lot of drama, and I think that that's kind of what we like. It's what we're into. It's just seeing upsets and seeing some blue bloods maybe coming back into the picture who haven't been around for a couple of decades.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually kind of had that same thought process this week as I was putting together my top 25. And it's the year of the blue blood, man. It's the year of the
Yeah,
blue blood. They're coming out of out of the woodwork. They've been in hibernation. Teams like Miami and Texas. Um, they're they,
Notre Dame.
we've heard that they're back several times, and I'm actually feeling like maybe they are back this go round. And yeah, Notre Dame as well. Notre Dame um, has played in some big games, but hasn't been as good as what they are since, let's be honest, like probably the early '90s. Um, I think that there's potential for some teams that have never made the playoff before that they're set to make the playoff if it were ending right now. Um, and I see the trajectory kind of trending that way. Usually every year we have at least one team that makes the 14 playoff that hasn't ever made it. It's possible we could have multiple this year. So been a very exciting college football season so far. I've been very entertained, and um, you can't watch every snap of every single game. I went back and watched some stuff, and um, whenever you do a show on a Sunday night, or excuse me, a Saturday night, uh, you tend to overreact. You just saw it. It's almost, it's not out of context, but in a way it is, because you don't have the full picture, the full landscape. Um, I remember last year there was weeks where multiple top 10 teams just barely squeaked by, and it's like, well, it's no big deal because every single team squeaked by. So context does matter whenever you're looking at these things. And now we've got the full picture from week 2. And if anybody wants to go check it out, our week 2 reactions are loaded up into the live little portion there on our video channel. So you can go check that out and see what our reactions were to week 2. And if you go on the playlist, you can check out any of the videos, predictions, reactions, highlights, all that good stuff. Everything's pretty well organized over there as of right now. So go check that out. And as I said earlier, please subscribe to the video. If you're watching this, about 75% of the people that watch our videos are not subscribed. And I know that because YouTube tells me. So with all that being said, uh, we're just trying to get started. Okay. And we need your help. We need college football's help. We're huge fans of college football. We're all one big family. Uh, and you need to start acting like it. Okay. Because we love you. Um, so thank you very much for tuning in again. Um, so yeah, let's kind of dive through some of this stuff. We're going to start off with our top 25, and then we'll go to our week 3 picks and and check those out. So How you want to do this top 25, man? You want to give me your 25 through 21 and we kind of do it like that, and then we'll go 5 at a time. I don't want to spend, we talk about these teams every time we go through a score, and we're going to talk
Yeah.
about a bunch of these teams as we do our predictions. So I want to preface this a little bit, though, to the audience. This is the way we see it right here. Okay. A lot of people don't like the AP top 25, including me. I don't agree with half the stuff they do. I surely don't agree with ESPN's top 25. That's the whole point of these things is to have your opinion. And we want to hear your opinion. Tell us where we're wrong in the comment section, because there's no way that this is absolutely correct. No one person's, some people's are the same, I guess. But, I mean, you get the point. Right? Everybody's got a different idea of these teams at this point. We've only seen some of them play a couple times. So let's go through our top 25. If you want to lead us off, Mason, and give us, I guess, 25 through 21. Is that how you want to do it?
Yeah, we can do that. We can start with that, and we'll just kind of list these off, and just let me know if there's one of these 5 that like stick out to you or something like that. And we don't have to spend. I'm not going to tell you my reason for picking every single team. That's just going to bore everybody.
Exactly.
To death, right. So
exactly.
I'm gonna give you and it's so interesting to me when I do these top 25. This is the second one we've done. We did one preseason. Now we're doing one. We're a little bit late, but I mean we needed to get some data, right? So we're doing one in week 3. And we'll kind of update this, each week. I'm pretty sure that week 3 and week 4, or heading into week 3 and heading into week 4, our top 25 isn't going to change very much, just based on the schedule. We're getting to that towards the end of the show. But whenever I'm making my top 25, I'm thinking, what does the team look like right now, and what's their like? I guess it's really a balance of how much do you weigh their power rating versus strength of schedule and who they beat, right? So everybody's different. Some people want to just say Texas should be number 1 in the country right now because they beat Alabama, and that's like way high on the spectrum of, strength of schedule and who they've beaten. But most people are like, well, we haven't seen Georgia really lose the top, the top overall, number 1 overall ranking. So, everybody has their own way of doing it. I think that sometimes you weigh some teams based on strength and some teams based on who they beat. And, you kind of like, there's no good way to do it. You're just going to it's going to be subjective, and it's fun that way, but one thing that I never want to do, and I see a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of blowhards, who put like Texas number 1, for example, and they put it out on social media, and it's like, dude, you obviously know that that's not like who you really think would win the national championship, like right now, like based on 2 weeks.
Nor did they
of
perform
data.
like the number 1 team in the country. I mean, they played. It was a good game, but it wasn't flawless football. I think there's more of an argument for FSU to be at number 1 than there would be Texas. But I totally understand what you're saying. I totally get it.
Right. So you see some people who have votes in the AP, and like Brett McMurphy. I was trying to pull up his top 25. I'm trying to look through his Twitter to see if it's on here. I don't see it, but he had like, I want to say it was Texas number 1 and like Florida State number 2, and it's just like, yeah, they're really good teams and they're in my top 4, but I don't know that Georgia and Michigan have done anything other than be the victims of having weak schedules, to lose the number 1 and number 2 overall spot. So, anyways, I'm getting a little bit off topic here, but going in reverse order from 25 to 21, I've got Kansas coming in at 25, and that's kind of just like me saying, hey, give yourselves a hand. Like, honorable mention. Yeah, you're last in the top 25, but you made the top 25. This is probably more to me, at least, because of what they've done this season. It's not necessarily a power rating. I think they're a pretty good team, especially with Daniels back. But And look, I'm not saying that they're going to be in the top 25 and after this week they're going to go out or anything like that. They could climb. Honestly, to me, they're a good enough team to climb in the top 25. I'm just probably a little bit early to having them there, and this is just a way for me to say congratulations on a good a good start to the season. So, I've got Kansas at 25. I've got Washington State at 24. And then UCLA at 23, UNC at 22, and Miami jumps UNC at 21 for me after a pretty good win over Texas A&M. It was sloppy on the defensive side of the ball, but I think that TVD really stepped into his own. Tyler Van Dyke. I think that he showed some improvement, and he showed kind of some of that hard work that he's been doing in the offseason. And I think that he might actually be the second best quarterback. Well, I say that. Travis may be the second best quarterback in the ACC, but he's up there at least top three in the ACC based off of that performance. If we can get that every single week, Riley Leonard's another good one, for Duke. But yeah, that's my 21 through 25. What you got for me?
Excuse me. And speaking of Tyler Van Dyke, did you hear that he trademarked the name or slogan Tyler Van Dimes?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that's Tyler Van Dimes you're talking about.
Wow.
He went ahead and trademarked that bad boy. He actually did it before the game this past weekend, and then threw a bunch of dimes. So, hey, if the shoe fits, brother, if the shoe fits, then wear it. That's that's a cool nickname. That's a good idea.
Right.
Sounds like a shoe line, Tyler Van Dimes. Like, dude, have you got a pair of Tyler Van Dimes yet? Like,
no, there are too many dimes. They
check out my yeah, thousands of dimes. Check out my TVDs. Yeah, you'll have to approach me with that, Tyler, if you want the rights to that idea, because we have it on recording and I will sue you. 25. I've got Iowa. I don't know why, but I've got Iowa. 24. You actually made me put Kansas in here all of a sudden because I forgot about Kansas. I'm not going to lie to you. You just said something. Really good. They are good, and I followed them a lot last year, and I really like Leipold, and I like what they're doing out there. I really do. They are working on the defense. It's a work in progress. It's going to take some time. It's not going to all come together this year, but Kansas, it was dumpster juice, like 5 minutes ago. So what he's done there is pretty daggum remarkable, I think. Just had a rough end of the season last year, lost their quarterback, all that good stuff. I think they're poised to probably going to disrupt somebody's season. I don't know who it's going to be. I know Texas is screaming not it, but
yeah.
It was only a couple years ago Texas lost to Kansas, and they weren't as good as they are right now. So Kansas, that is. Well, and Texas. Number 23, I've got Miami. Much respect for the win this past week. You got to move up in the top 25 after a victory like that. 22, I've got Ole Miss. This is kind of by default. I've got to slide Ole Miss in there. I mean, they struggle, they might, but they got the W. And if they can figure out a way to get their run game going, watch out. Ole Miss will be tough to deal with.
89 yards against Tulane. That's a problem.
I know it is a problem, and I don't understand because, like I said, I mean, this team like damn near led the SEC in rushing if they didn't lead it last year.
They did, actually, yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense what's going on. That's why I say if they can somehow start to figure this out and take some of that off of Jackson Dart's shoulders, man, his shoulders ain't big enough to carry that team. I'm just going to be honest. And at number 21, I've got Utah. And sorry, Utah. This is sometimes these teams just move down because somebody had to move up. In this case, I don't think Utah's a bad team. I think there's a good chance they could probably finish right around this mark, and this is maybe my wacky ranking, but I just don't I don't know. I don't know what's up with Cam Rising. Did you see they named Nate Johnson the starter for this
Yeah.
week?
Mm-hmm.
So Nate Johnson is going to get the start. Barnes struggled mightily last week.
Yeah.
I just, while I like Utah and I think they're very physical, I think they're more like a top 20 team rather than like a top 10 or 15. Um, but whenever they get Cam Rising back, I will be very open to looking at that situation whenever that comes and moving them right back up. So 25 Iowa, 24 Kansas, 23 Miami, 22 Ole Miss, 21 Utah. What you got? 20 through 16.
So starting at 20, I've got Duke. This is a team that you were really high on heading into the season. I may
It's
be a
my
little bit
Dukies.
your
Yes, sir.
Dookie, right? So I may be a little bit lower than some people on them, but I don't know. I think that they're really one of the best teams in the ACC, and I don't know. I'm excited to see them move forward. I think that where they were probably like 35th on my list preseason, if I had to do a top 50 or something, they're constantly climbing up. And the Clemson win is a big reason for that. Notice I don't have Clemson in my top 25, by the way. Some polls do. I don't really agree with that. I haven't seen anything that makes me think that they're a top 25 team at this point.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Once you
Duke
showed me Kansas, that's what did Clemson in on mine. It's like, oh wait,
right.
Kansas is. I think Kansas can beat Clemson.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so 20 is Duke. For me, 19 is Ole Miss. You just mentioned it. I'm a little bit higher on them. I do think that they get some things figured out in that run game. At 18, I've got Colorado. 17 is Utah, which you mentioned at 21. Same thing for me. I had them at like 12, preseason.
Yeah.
They're sliding a little bit because we don't know what's going on with Cam Rising. We don't know if they're going to get him back. They won't. They're not giving us any information on him. So we have
Yeah.
to go with quarterbacks who are on the roster playing right now. And based on that, even I would probably have them further down the list. But with some respect to Cam Rising coming back, I'll leave them at 17. And then to finish up at 16, I've got Kansas State.
Kansas State. Yeah, we're thinking right around the same terms of thinking, I think. Number 20, I've got North Carolina, the Fighting Drake Mays. This is about where I had them in the preseason. Number 19, I got Oklahoma. I scooted them up a few notches. Excuse me. A lot of people didn't like the win they got this past week against SMU, and I would invite y'all to go and take a look at SMU and take a little deeper look
Oh,
because
yeah.
SMU is a pretty good team, and Oklahoma beat the spread. So, if you're beating the spread, then that means you're exceeding expectations. So, I would just warn anybody who's down on Oklahoma about that win. I don't think that's one to be down on.
Well, and
No,
I think with that game, they were just so far under the total that everybody thought like, oh well, Oklahoma just really didn't do much, because they're used to seeing Oklahoma put up 60 against an SMU, but
right?
that's just not. It's not going to be a Brett Venables, Oklahoma, more than likely.
No,
I mean, they
and,
did score 500,000 in week one, but
yeah, well, and that was a nobody team, and as you know, on the football field, sometimes you just got it one day, and everything's the bounce of balls just bouncing your direction. But we talked about Oklahoma in the preseason. Their offense probably going to take a little step back. Defense is probably going to take a step up, and I saw that. I saw the
yeah,
defense take a step up. Since when did they hold a total that low? That hasn't happened very much over the last 10 to 15 years. Number 18, I got Oregon State and the DJ Uiagalelei. Yep, the ukulele man. Number 17, UCLA. I like what I'm seeing out of UCLA. They got a really easy schedule to start the year. Their schedule really doesn't even start till week 6, so we'll come back and address them. They'll have plenty of chances to move up, but until then, they're probably going to be floating around that 15 to 20 mark in most rankings. And number 16, I've got Colorado. I have got the Buffs at 16, the Fighting Deion Sanders. I am just completely and utterly surprised that Colorado is where they are right now. And for them to be 16 in my ranking is honestly just pretty mind-boggling. I just never ever would have thought that that would be where we're at on, September 12th, this early in the season, um, or any part in the season. Give me a break. I mean, they weren't supposed to be here. So um, that's my 19 through what do we do? 20 through 16. So North Carolina 20, 19 Oklahoma, 18 Oregon State, 17 UCLA, and 16 Colorado. What you got?
I like that a lot. Couple of things for you. Dante Moore is now the starting quarterback at UCLA, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Ethan Garbers didn't play good
Yeah.
enough in that first game, and it's Dante now.
Yeah. I think that's really good for them. He's obviously the highly touted 5-star true freshman, and so it's a good sign that Chip Kelly's comfortable enough to put him in and work with him. Maybe that means good things in the future for UCLA, if not this season, then next. Having a more experienced quarterback who's got the talent and the potential that Moore has, but the other thing is with Colorado, and I kind of just glazed over them at 18 for some dumb reason because they're the biggest story in sports right now, and it's nice that college football has the biggest story in sports. But
Sure.
These guys are drawing 10 million views, against Nebraska. That was a game that would probably not even break a million, and if they did, it was because of all the Nebraska fans, had Deion Sanders not been there. So it's really special what he's doing. They've got Big Noon kickoff. They're facing Colorado State this week, and we'll get into that. But Big Noon kickoff and College Game Day on campus in Boulder. I think it's an interesting choice to go to that game, but in a down week where there are no other real good games, I get it. And while it's hot, get it while it's hot, because
That's what they're doing.
The following week they're going to go and face Oregon, and they're probably going to get mollywogged. Have a little come back to earth moment. So I'm wondering how much sparkle kind of comes out of everybody's eyes after they lose to Oregon. And who knows, maybe they come in and put up a good fight, and maybe they win. I mean, at this point, I'm not putting anything past them, but I'm just wondering at what point do they kind of come down to earth, and because I do think that last week, I think that myself and all the other fans probably still thought a little bit too little about Colorado and didn't expect them to come out and not necessarily play a great game even, but do a lot on offense at least to beat Nebraska. It was sloppy on defense. It wasn't pretty necessarily, but they still came out and had a decided victory over Nebraska. So at some point, I do expect them to regress like everyone else, but it's a fun story right now. It's fun to watch, and I think that big things are coming for Deion Sanders and the Buffaloes in the future. All right, so 15 through 11, I've got at 15 the Oklahoma Sooners, who you mentioned. 14, I've got Oregon State, who you also mentioned. 13, I've got LSU at 13. I've got Tennessee at 12, and Oregon at 11. I think these are all pretty standard middle of the pack for the top 25. There's not really a whole lot really from 15 up that I think is all that questionable. It's pretty, and even comparing it to the AP poll, it's there's not a whole lot of moving parts. I'm not there's no team that's not on their top 25 that's in my top 15. I mean, it's all pretty neutral at this point, but as we get more data points too, I think it's going to get more and more, selective, in those 25 where you're really kind of splitting hairs on some of the different tiers of the top 25 at least. So that's my 15 through 11. Just real quick, once again, Oklahoma at 15, Oregon State, LSU, Tennessee, and Oregon at 11. Anything jump out to you on that list?
No, you got a bunch of the teams that I've got. We've got all the same ones finished up, just in a little bit different order. Um, so at 15, I've got Duke. I continue to be higher on Duke than pretty much anybody in the country. I just the trajectory of this team in the ACC this year is high, and I think the probability of them finishing top 20 is pretty high, um, barring catastrophic injury, which because they're not deep, obviously. Um, Number 14, I've got Tennessee. I'm starting to see some things out of Tennessee that you know I don't love. I'm not sounding the alarm or anything like that. Excuse me. Joe Milton is exactly who I thought he was. I'm pretty sure. And will he get better by the end of the year? Probably not. He's been in college what 6 years now or whatever. Um, Probably not getting any better at this point. And especially not in the middle of the season. Maybe some decision making and defensive reading stuff, I guess. But this is a guy that we've seen a lot of, and I'm not saying he's bad, and I'm not saying this is a bad Tennessee team. Vol fans don't jump off the ledge here or freak out. But 14 is a good spot. Top 15 is a good college football team, and top 14 teams can beat anybody any given Saturday. So this doesn't mean anything about Tennessee. Their whole season's right in front of them. Number 13, I've got Kansas State. We're going to get to see this team in a marquee matchup this week. Finally get to play somebody. I can't wait to see that offensive line. They've got all 5 guys back this year. Going to be a battle in the trenches this week in Missouri. Probably where College Game Day should have gone, to be honest. But they're chasing the bag, and I get it. Number 12, I've got Bama. As some of these teams continue to win games, I think the Bama and the LSU will kind of filter out and not out of the top 25, but they'll probably keep ticking down as some of these other teams get some impressive wins. But 12, I got Bama. 11, I got LSU, and that's gets us to the top 10. You want to hit us with your top 10, and I'll hit you with my top 10, and then we'll get into the predictions.
Yeah, so I've got Bama at 10, and I just want to take a quick moment to talk about Alabama. You've got them at 12. Why? So prior to this, right, we both, or at least I had Alabama at what, 6 in the country? So they lose to Texas at number 4. Do we really think that they're number 12? Do we really think that? And I've got Alabama at 10, so I'm like right there with you. But I'm just kind of like playing devil's advocate here for a minute, playing the other side of the fence. Why do we think that they would lose to a Washington? You know what I mean?
I think they would lose to Washington, personally.
Right. And I agree. And it's just like it's mind-boggling to look at this and go, okay, I have Alabama at 10, and I'm looking at it, and they could probably go behind Oregon at least.
Yeah.
I haven't seen enough from LSU to say that they're necessarily better than Alabama. I still think that they have the talent to be. I think that they certainly have a better quarterback. But with Bama and with Saban for a moment, I'm starting to think, like, my knee-jerk reaction was, okay, like everybody, I guess in some capacity, you start to wonder about the dynasty, right? And all this stuff. And you can kind of define the dynasty however you want. You may say, well, it was done in really 2021 when Georgia won because they won back to back. And so Alabama really hasn't won it since 20, and like, is it really a dynasty if another team's coming in and winning back to back national championships?
Right.
I think that we've got to wait another year to know that. But at the same time, dynasty aside, what I'm seeing from Nick Saban, and as I've seen the highlights and seen, there's a funny clip going around of all the Bama fans who were super excited, super pumped up, at the stadium, last Saturday night. They're just barking, they're ready to go. And then it shows the fourth quarter, and fans are leaving, and they got their heads, their hands, their head in their hands, and then it shows Nick Saban, and he's just walking, and he's got his head down like this, and he's contemplative. He's not getting it under somebody's ass, and he's not like lighting a fire up under somebody. And he's lost his passion, on the sidelines. And I think that as I'm kind of like really psychoanalyzing probably too much, but who doesn't do this to Nick Saban at some point? But it seems like, and this is just my knee-jerk reaction, but it seems like he doesn't, or he knows that he did not put enough into this offseason to get his team where they need to be to win a national championship. And yeah. I honestly think that he's just kind of riding out his contract and making as much money as he can and being a good New Year's Six Bowl type team, win 10 games, occasionally slip to 9. That's just what I see. He looks very passive to me. He doesn't look like an active head coach.
Well, it's like all the media kept talking about this offseason. Oh, watch out. Nick Saban's smiling more. No, I think he's getting old, and I think he's getting soft. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's natural, but you're right. This isn't the same Nick Saban that we've seen. This isn't the guy that, we've heard about on the practice field that's literally stepping over injured players to go yell at somebody. Like, this isn't the same dude. He doesn't have the edge that he used to. He doesn't have that swagger, I feel like, that he used to. There's tons of recruiting stories at a school that's right down the road from where I'm at right now, going in the coach's office and kicking his feet up on the desk,
Yeah.
and just like, this is my office now, that swagger and that attitude and that edge does not seem to be there. I think you are correct on that. And I feel like his thoughts are, it's like, I'm not going to go yell at these boys. I ain't about to get in their ass. They work their ass off. He loves how they practice. He says it all the time. He loves how this team practices. They practice hard, but Alabama should have hit the transfer portal for a quarterback. That's really the bottom line. If Alabama has Sam Hartman, they beat Texas this past weekend. I mean, I'm pretty sure sure they beat Texas. Absolutely. And I can probably think of a few more. I mean, even like, I don't know. I wouldn't say DJU. That's basically what they have now. But you get my point. There was a few guys that they could have got, or went and threw the bag at Drake May or whatever you needed to do. And it just doesn't. It just doesn't seem like it's the same as what it was for sure. Top 10. Go ahead.
I got to finish my top 10 real quick, but I was just gonna say, with Saban, it's I think he deserves it. I think he deserves to just stay as long as he wants, based on everything he's done. Just whatever you want to do, man. Take your time. Like, what do they call it? Silently quit, whatever. Like, if you want to, just keep recruiting, bring in these great players, keep the machine going in some capacity. But
you know what I saw the other day? Not to interrupt you, but I saw this the other day. I mean, and no joke, there was thousands of votes on it, but it was on YouTube. Somebody had put a poll out, and they said, "Will Deion Sanders be the next coach of Alabama Crimson Tide? Yes or no?"
I saw it on Feinbaum. Somebody had said something, and
that didn't take long.
Taken aback, and he's like, "You're gonna take the greatest coach of all time, and you're gonna risk bringing in Deion Sanders." And it's like, well, at least he's got some energy. You know what I mean?
As a Georgia fan, I do not want to see that.
No, I wouldn't, for sure.
He'd be good at it. He'd be good at it, man.
So at number 10, like I mentioned, I've got Alabama. Number 9, I've got Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is really freaking good. I think that they're still undervalued by a lot of people's standards. And at 8, I've got Washington. I think you're probably a little bit higher on Washington as of right now. I'm ready to see them play someone. I'm ready to see them get into the Pac-12 and play one of these teams. I'm ready to see some heavyweight matchups. The Pac-12
They got Michigan State this weekend, so we'll see a little better competition.
A little bit, yeah, but they're also without their head coach. So
yeah, and you know what I did? I went and bet on that game immediately, like 45 minutes after that news came out. I went and bet on Washington to cover.
Probably smart. At number 7, I've got Ohio State. This is a team to me that's sliding just because of other teams doing so well and playing like good competitive games. They really haven't done anything to move out of my, top. I think I had them at like 5 or 4 at the beginning of the season, but they're not wowing me either, even against lesser opponents. At number 6, I've got USC. USC is what we thought they were. They're an outstanding, probably the best offense in the country. I mean, let's just go ahead and say it. Now they haven't been tested on their O-line. That's a real issue, I think. I saw some stuff out of their O-line, like some blocking where like their offensive linemen, in a pass blocking situation were just throwing a shoulder in, to these defensive linemen. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, of all people, you're supposed to put your freaking hands on them, man, and throw them around. Like, why?
I bet they didn't get no holding calls though, Mason.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. When you don't play with hands, it's hard to get a holding call. So, but it didn't like cause a sack or anything. It was just like really weird to see offensive linemen do that. So, I guarantee you, if they try to do that against like a Walter Nolan at Texas A&M or Makai Ringo or whatever his name is at LSU, like that's not going to happen. Like you're going to get your head knocked off trying to do that. So, you can do that against children or sisters of the poor, but anyways, USC, I'm still taking a wait and see approach. Their defense is just not good enough for me to really put them in my top 5. One team that does have a good defense and that is good enough on both sides of the ball, and it isn't getting enough talk right now, is Penn State. I think at number 5, I've got Penn State, and look, I know they haven't really beat anyone of real magnitude, but they look like they're getting a lot better. Like week 1, I think Drew Allard is just kind of finding his footing. Week 2, he took another step forward. I think he's the best quarterback in the Big Ten right now. And I don't think it's really I don't think that's really saying that, like, okay, McCarthy's pretty freaking good, but Michigan is such a run heavy team. I don't know that he's necessarily a better quarterback than Drew Allard. Whereas, I see Drew Allard go out there and play, man. And, I might be a little bit premature on this, putting them at 5. I do have them going to the playoffs, that's who I picked preseason. So, I've been high on them from the start. This is a really, really good roster. And, I'm seeing what I needed to see out of Drew Allard to feel really confident about where they're going to go moving forward. And he's taken a lot of good steps. So keep your eye on Penn State moving forward. Number 4, I've got Texas. Look, you beat Bama in Tuscaloosa, you're gonna be in the top 4, no question. Without any other losses. So that was the best win of the season, as far as best win over, or a win over the best opponent, I should say. To me, Florida State, who's my number 3, had the best win of the season. They beat LSU handedly. It was there were no questions. In the Texas, Alabama game, I was thinking like, they're leaving, the door open for Texas.
They tried.
For Alabama to run right in, with all the drops mainly.
They did. But they tried to keep them in the game, man.
Yeah. So I'd like to see them put Alabama away, but that's tough for anybody to do. And no surprise, at number 2, I've got Michigan. At number 1, I've got Georgia. When are we going to see them tested? Michigan, you're really not going to see them tested until Penn State, for the most part. I think they play in the middle of the season. Georgia, you won't see until the next to last week of the season at this point, against Tennessee. And I don't even know if Tennessee is going to be very relevant at that point. So Georgia is just one you can just kind of tuck away at number 1, and we'll open up that present sometime around Christmas to see if we know if they are what we think they are or not. We got to wait and see. So, but that's my top 10. What you got for me?
All right, man. Number 10, I got Notre Dame. Number 9, I got Oregon. Number 8, I've got Ohio State. Number 7, I've got Penn State. Number 6, I've got USC. Number 5, I've got Washington. Number 4, Texas. Number 3, FSU. Number 2, Michigan. Number 1, UGA. I think number 1 and 2 are locked in until further notice. Somebody's going to have to, struggle with the team they're not supposed to struggle with, which would be any team on their schedule other than their last few games, or something to that effect, or obviously if they lose a game, which I don't see happening for either one of these two teams. JJ McCarthy looks really good. He looks like he's better than last year, in my opinion. I am obviously really happy with everything we've seen from FSU Texas. I mean, that goes without saying. Both of them have got awesome wins, the best wins of the year. I like Texas's win a little bit more in the fact that it was at Alabama, and I feel like they should get credit for that. But number 6, I got USC. Like I said, this offense is really good. This might be one of the best offenses we've ever seen, I think, but by the end of the year, probably. And they're not done developing, but you're right. The offensive line is probably going to be an issue at some point. And then we'll just have to see how much of an issue it is. Caleb Williams is so good at improving. I'm sorry, I had my phone connected to this soundboard. But also Penn State. Yeah, I'm jealous. I should have picked Penn State to make the playoff because I think they got just as good a chance to make it as Michigan. I think either one of those teams you pick, or Ohio State, really, but I think Penn State, Michigan are the top 2 teams right now. Penn State has gotten to a point now, man, where they can beat you in multiple ways. Whereas the last few years, it seemed like they were much more one-dimensional. Sean Clifford never really won a big game for them. And they've got a quarterback right now who I feel like is itching to go win a game with his arm for them. And he'll get a chance to do so at some point this year, and I expect him to do so. If they get behind, that was the problem before. They'd get behind, and it's like they couldn't throw their way back into a game. And now they can. They got a dude that they got a quarterback. I like Drew Aller a lot. Not giving up on Ohio State. I like the defense. Kyle McCord is the official starter now, finally, which we all pretty much knew that. Oregon will have to. I want to keep my eye on Oregon. I didn't like everything I saw at play in Texas Tech, but you know what? Texas Tech was like an animal backed into a corner. They're 0-2 to start the year. That was in Lubbock at night. So I'm going to excuse anything that I saw that I didn't particularly love, and I'm going to reserve judgment on any of that for later on down the road. If Oregon struggles with Colorado, then I'm going to know. I'm going to know what's up.
Yeah. I actually say that was a quality win against Texas Tech. Like
it was. No. It was a quality win. It was absolutely a quality win.
Like,
I just don't see Texas Tech as anywhere close to a top 10 team.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
if you're going to, I'm trying to think, if you're going to beat USC and Washington that are on this list, if you perform the way you did there, I don't think you win, especially defensively. That was really the bugaboo for me. It was defensively. It really wasn't offensively. Was pretty happy with what I saw from Bo Nix and the offense for the most part. But that's my top 10, man. I think we're thinking along the same lines for the most part. Got a lot of the same teams in here. I noticed that neither one of us had any G5 teams. That's hey.
I'm just not seeing it this year, honestly.
I don't see any of them. Cincinnati, maybe.
I
we'll
think
see this weekend.
Actually, yeah, I think Tulane, if they get their quarterback back, probably would have beaten Ole Miss, honestly, in that game. I mean,
that quarterback was really good, and it cost them in that game. They would have beat them. I really firmly feel they would have beat them. Yeah, but they didn't. And if you're outside the Power 5, you can't have a loss. to be in the top 25.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be a few weeks at least before you'll be able to get back into the top 25. So UTSA was in a lot of people's top 25, and boy, they skedaddled quickly out of there.
Yep.
Well, without further ado, and I'm going to actually make a note. We are at 45 minutes, so that way I can cut this video later. Let's get into our week 3 predictions. What do you say, bud?
That sounds good, man. I'm excited. I've got a lot going on this week. For it being such a lame week, like I'm so nervous because I've got way too many freaking picks, dude. It's ridiculous, and they're all like picking the favorite to win by more. So I don't know. I feel pretty weird about these picks, but I'm just kind of trusting my gut at this point.
I'll tell you right now before we even get started. So I caught the Tennessee and Florida line at 7, I think, and Tennessee favored by 7, and I think that's just way too damn low. Like, so I'll go ahead and let you know. I went ahead and locked that sucker in, and then I also locked in Washington. So with my picks last week on the Between the Lines show, which is the new name for the betting show, by the way, everybody. That was quite the reveal there. But I ended up with literally like $2 less than what I had bet last week. So I broke almost exactly even last week. And we'll go over that on the Friday show that we're going to do. So let's start looking through some of these. And I'm going to go through these matchups one by one, and then we'll stop on the good ones. But I do want to just, maybe if there's a comment or two about some of these smaller games that maybe we don't need to cover all the way, we can kind of do that. Miami gets an easy game. You can go get oh my God, you can go get in the Miami game for as low as $2 to watch them play Bethune-Cookman at 7:30 this Thursday. So they'll be playing on Thursday night. Also on Thursday, we got Navy at Memphis at 7:30. Going into the Friday matchups, we got Virginia at Maryland. We don't have to talk about this one a whole lot. Well, obviously Maryland's going to win that game. Virginia's pretty damn terrible. Army at UTSA and Utah State at Air Force. Those games are at 7:00, and the last one there was at 8. Let's get into Saturday. Florida State at Boston College. Florida State is going to beat the ever-living bejesus out of this team up there in Chestnut Hill. This is a bad Boston College team. This is a really bad Boston College team.
Hey, are we throwing our bets in right now, or are we just picking who we think is going to win?
No, we're just picking winners, and
okay. All right.
We'll kind of look at that, and then me and you will do the bet, the Between the Lines. We're going to get off and record that, and we'll release it to the people. Actually, on Thursday. I'm going to set it up for Thursday to be released.
Got it.
So that leads us to number 7, Penn State. Ooh, getting a phone call. Penn State at Illinois. Penn State out in Illinois. That's an interesting one, in my opinion. Illinois didn't look very good so far this year. Luke Altmaier still trying to find his groove with the Illini. I think Penn State, takes care of business here, obviously. Just look, this is a good opportunity to see Drew Aller against some better competition, though. That game coming on at noon, I'll definitely tune into that. I think it'll be a lot of people's first chance to take a look at Drew Aller and what Penn State is going to be flashing on the offense this year. LSU at Mississippi State. This is a good one. Last I heard, this was about a 9-point spread. I'm not pulling the spreads up right this second. I'm just kind of going through these, and I like LSU here, obviously. But you know what? You just don't really know what you're getting with Mississippi State. they threw the ball like less than 20 times last week, and this was a team last year that was throwing 50 times a game. So nobody knows what to expect out of this Mississippi State team. You got a great quarterback that could flash at any moment there. So I think this is an interesting one. And I think also the first opportunity that everybody's going to have to really take a look at the new Mississippi State after the loss of the Pirate, rest in peace. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's at about 9.5 points last I checked. Yeah, it still is on Bet Now at least. So, obviously LSU is the favorite. I think LSU really needs to go out and dominate this game. But I also feel like Mississippi State and Zach Arnett there is probably has been looking ahead and circling LSU on their schedule and saying, like, guys, we got a lot of time to prepare. We got 2 practice games before we face them. Let's do the dang thing and not show anything. We'll have everybody thinking we're just a run heavy team. And of course, they are supposed to be a balanced team, but I think that he could have a little bit of he could have something up his sleeve here. With Mississippi State Bulldogs. I'm staying away from this game. I really want to bet that they cover the 9.5 points, and I almost want to pick them on the money line, but I just think LSU has so much to lose if they lose this game that Brian Kelly's going to have the guys ready, and I think that they end up winning by probably 10 to 14 points, and it'll be kind of a late sort of win. But I think that that Mississippi State will be in it late, especially this game being in Starkville. It's a tough place to go play with the Cowbells. So I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a close game. It is a noon game. I really wish that this was a night game in Starkville. It really should be on this week. But it should be a good one to watch, and I'll definitely be tuned in.
Yeah, me too. I want to check this one out. I'm not going to probably have a play on it unless the number jumps around or some news comes out or something like that. I think I'll probably stay away from this one, but Mississippi State kind of had a hard time with Arizona last week, so I'm a little cautious about that. But the SEC has struggled with all their non-conference matchups so far this year. Slow start for the SEC for sure. Kansas State at Missouri. This is a really good one, and I hate that this is at noon. Why did they do that? This is a rivalry game. This game has been going on for, I think they've played this game about 70 times or so. We talked about this in the preseason. Missouri is a big-time leader in this rivalry throughout time, but Kansas State has won it recently and won last year. And this is one that I think I probably will have a play on. I bet on Missouri last week, and they burned me, Mason. They spurned my love for them, is what they did.
Right.
And I tell you what, love and hate is there's a short margin in between, and Missouri pulls some crap like that again, they might cross the line, because that pissed me right off. I don't know what they were doing against Middle Tennessee State last week. This is a good defense that is being squandered by a not so great offense. And then Kansas State, on the other hand of this, is a really well-balanced team. I think they're probably I know they lost some on defense from last year, so we're going to have to see. But I don't think this is a Missouri team that is going to be able to on a regular day is going to be able to test the secondary of Kansas State consistently. And not to mention, Kansas State has got an outstanding offensive line. Everybody wanted to talk about how great Alabama's offensive line was this year, in Georgia. Kansas State's offensive line has looked better than either one of those teams so far this year. Kansas State has returned all 5 starters from last year, and they won the Big 12 last year. And had a great running attack. These guys are the real deal. They can run block. They can pass block. Will Howard is an absolute hoss to bring down. Not like, you know, like, some kind of freak athlete, like Jalen Milrow running out of the pocket when he sees a ghost out there. But when he does move around, it's hard to bring this dude down. He's like a tight end, like he's huge. Um,
Right.
can't wait to see this battle on the line of scrimmage. I'm gonna shield my eyes. I don't want to see the spread yet. I've got an idea. I think that Kansas State should win this game by 10. After what I just saw, um, after what I just saw last week, and who knows? It's early in the season, and like I said, I know this Missouri defense is good. I know they are, but I don't know if they're geared to hang with Kansas State. And I'm gonna take Kansas State to win this game, and I think they'll probably win it fairly easily. I bet the spread is going to be around 7, and I'm thinking they can win by 10 or so. Um,
Yeah.
so I'll probably be jumping on Kansas State. We'll see how the line moves as the week goes on, and you can count on us. We'll read between the lines. What do you think about this one, Mason?
Man, we talked about this a couple months ago. Really, this game and this matchup. How
Yeah,
excited we are for it. This is going to be kind of the deciding factor for both of these teams and their win totals. For the year, and I think Kansas State's better than I even thought, and I was pretty high on them whenever we went through our preseason breakdown. I think that you mentioned the offensive line and what they've been able to do and getting a push up front. Um, I think that Trayshawn Ward, the transfer from Florida State, is due for a breakout game. He's only got through two games so far. He's got 113 yards, which isn't anything just to turn your nose up to or anything, but it's got 113 yards and one touchdown. I think that he's going to be able to gash the Missouri, and the SEC is going to take another loss here. And I think he ends up with probably two touchdowns and 100 yards or so just on this game alone. You mentioned it, a veteran offensive line, Will Howard. He's the real deal, and they're putting away easy opponents the way that they should. They beat
yeah,
Southeastern Missouri 45-0, beat Troy 42-13. They're doing what a good team does to bad teams. They're not playing down to their competition, and I think you see more of the same against Missouri this week. But Missouri, I mean, they're going to be coming out,
oh yeah, they'll be fired up.
fighting, and it's at Missouri, it's at Como. I mean, look, this is a little known rivalry in college football. I feel like, but it should be a really fun one to watch, and I think that you're right on the money with that, and I think that the Wildcats should easily win this by probably kind of a blowout fashion and win by about 14 points, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Missouri is going to need Luther Burden to step up, and for him to step up, Brady Cook is going to have to. He's going to have to polish some things up, man. I talked about it after week 1 when I watched Missouri, and it was a good defense with an offense that it just something's missing. Something is missing. I don't know what it is. Brady Cook throws the ball like 100 miles an hour. I saw multiple receivers, getting hit in the hands and it bouncing off because he threw it 10 yards at 62 miles an hour,
Yeah.
and
Well,
it's
that's what's
like,
missing. A little bit of touch. He's really one of the worst
yeah,
quarterbacks in the SEC.
yeah, and it hasn't been good. And who do they have playing backup, Mason? Wasn't it some kind of who
Sam
was it?
Horn.
Horn?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sam Horn. Uh, a pretty, I would say he was a high upside recruit coming out of high school out of Georgia. He was a 3-star, but he was one of those like project types. And as a
right,
true
right.
he's already preseason he was contesting Cook for playing time. So if they go out there and they're down at halftime, sizably, and Cook's already thrown a pick, you might be able to see a little bit of Sam Horn this weekend. And I'm here for it, honestly. I'm not really a
Yeah,
big fan of Brady Cook. I thought he would take a little bit more of a step forward this
he hasn't
season.
developed. Yeah,
No,
he hasn't
and
developed,
maybe,
and Luther
maybe
Burden
that's a
hasn't
Missouri
developed
thing.
either.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's a Missouri thing, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Missouri being able to develop this talent the way that they should. But we're going to see what happens this weekend at noon out in Como. That will definitely be exciting. And if Colorado wasn't doing what they were doing, I'm pretty sure College Game Day would be at this one. But we'll look through these matchups and maybe there's another one that I'm missing here. But I feel like that would be a good rivalry game in week 3 to go check out if you just had a one of those ESPN Mercedes what's it called, the tailgate vans. Have you seen those?
No, I
Wow.
haven't.
Wow, it's unbelievable. So yeah, I highly recommend it if you have the means. And by means, I mean about 150 grand.
Yeah.
All right, Liberty at Buffalo at noon. Nobody cares. Louisville at Indiana. This is kind of a weird non-conference Power 5 matchup here. Louisville should win that one pretty handily. I don't think Indiana's very good at all. Again,
Yeah.
Georgia Southern at Wisconsin. A
Hey,
lot of yeah.
I was just gonna say, I'll go ahead and tell you, keep your eye on that game.
Oh
And
yeah.
then, Georgia, snuck up into the Big Ten and got another red and white team last year. And I mean, Georgia Southern's just no joke, really. I mean, they're a tough team to defend, and just keep your eye on that. I doubt that they're able to beat Wisconsin. Wisconsin's not the same team Nebraska was last year, so. But I wouldn't be surprised if in Fickell's first year he has one of these slip ups. And if you're going to slip up to anybody, like Georgia Southern's a team to do it.
Yeah, I could see that. Georgia Southern's a well-kept secret down there in Statesboro, Georgia. Not many people think about them, but a team that has won championships at their level, and they've leveled up over the last few years and have competed with some high-level teams. Who was it? Florida a few years ago. They almost beat Florida. Yeah, that'll be interesting to watch. I don't think Wisconsin's offense is worth the flip, personally. And I wasn't expecting it to be, but people kept putting them into the rankings in the top 25, and I didn't understand it. There was there's nothing to see there. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on them. Maybe they progress as the year goes on, as Wisconsin is in a transformation. They're actually going to an air raid offense. So, and it's going to be a multi-year transition period from what I understand. Wake Forest at Old Dominion, Long Island University at Baylor. Hey, Baylor will finally get a win. Iowa State at Ohio, Central Connecticut at Kent State, North Dakota at Boise State, Weber State at Utah. Noticing a trend here. Horse crap games. VMI at I don't even know what VMI is. At NC State, UMass at Eastern Michigan, Norfolk State at Temple, Indiana State at Ball State. All right, Central Michigan at Notre Dame. I will say a little something on this. That's old Jim McElwain's team. Central Michigan. And they're pretty good. They're pretty doggone good. Now, I'm not at all saying that they're going to put up a game at Notre Dame at 2:30 on Saturday. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it's a decent offense. It is a decent offense in Central Michigan. So we'll get to see a little bit more of that Notre Dame defense before we get to that epic showdown that is coming between Ohio State and Notre Dame here in a week or two. Now, South Carolina at Georgia. Let's talk some Georgia Bulldogs and the South Carolina Gamecocks. This game is at 3:30 on CBS. This is at Georgia. What do you think about this one, man? I'm looking for Georgia's defensive line to just disrupt the hell out of this South Carolina offense. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. They will be very disruptive. But what's interesting is Spencer Rattler has found a way to actually put up pretty good numbers, even being
hell yeah, he has. Kudos to the man. I tip my hat to you, brother. He has played even in North Carolina when he got sacked 9 times. Yeah, he just threw his hand up, got picked up by an offensive lineman, was on to the next play, baby. It was just water out like off a duck's back, man. I have to
Yeah.
say that I am pretty impressed with him so far.
He's been one of those stories in college football that I don't think people are paying enough attention to, and they probably won't until draft season comes. And then
Yeah.
you start wondering if he's going to be a first round pick, because we all know he's had the talent, and I think he's showing the poise and maturity now that I mentioned during the offseason that it seemed like there were whispers coming out that he's really developed this offseason specifically, really like midway through last season. You saw a lot of growth from him, and then he carried that over into the offseason, and now we're seeing it. The fruits of his labor kind of come to fruition, and it's not coming in the form of wins for South Carolina, but he is showing a lot of improvement, and he's looking good. But obviously, I've got Georgia winning this game. Spread's like 27.5. I don't see really any way that Georgia doesn't cover that spread.
Yeah.
Kirby does not like Shane Beamer. Like, it's pretty obvious. He really doesn't like Shane Beamer for whatever reason. We don't know why, but he's not afraid to run the score up, and he's not like that with a lot of coaches, but he gets fired up about Shane Beamer. I don't know what that poor guy did, but he's got it coming for him once again,
Yeah, I think he just rubs him the wrong way. He's so freaking goofy, man.
Yeah.
Golly, Shane Beamer is just so goofy. And he might be the right guy at South Carolina. I'm not saying I mean, I think he's a good coach. You got to be a good coach to be able to do what he did at South Carolina. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, I got to say something. We didn't even bring this up in our previous show, but did you see the post-game press conference after they played North Carolina and got shellacked? Did you see it?
No, I didn't. No.
Okay. Well, I wish I was making this up, man, but this was really lame. He comes in the press conference and they start asking him about the second half. And he says, well, I can tell you what happened in the second half. All the line judges decided to go get hot dogs and didn't get back in time. And so the clock was behind the whole time. And I'm telling you, dude, I wish I made that up. And maybe I'll make a short about it or something later this week, because
Wow.
I've never heard anybody say anything like that. It was the refs getting hot dogs at halftime,
Right.
that messed the clock up. And why even mention that? There's nothing you can do to control that. What? You don't control the clock. Just, I don't know, silly, and it's little silly things like that are like clown behavior. It's like Dan Mullen type stuff that he used to do at Florida,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And it rubs people the wrong way, man. It gets annoying. You got your quarterback sacked 9 times. It didn't have anything to do with the hot dog. Had nothing to do with the hot dogs, bro. So, let them referees eat their hot dogs in peace, man. Don't be going there. But as we talked about in the reaction show, Georgia struggles to cover spreads typically in games where they're playing a nobody team. And I think there's a long list of reasons for that. And I think it's not just a Georgia thing. I think it's becoming more of a thing for these big teams that have such a huge talent advantage over these smaller teams. They're playing a driving range game. Okay. They're doing top golf style and just hitting at targets and trying to work on things. This game, on the other hand, Georgia tends to carry these. They tend to cover these types of games. Absolutely smoked the hell out of South Carolina last year. What was it, 48-7?
Yeah.
I mean, it was an eye-opening experience. One of the biggest conference beatdowns that you're going to see. So I agree with you. I don't see how Georgia doesn't cover this, but even if they don't cover, I think they'll beat them by at least 21. I don't think this is a game to sweat. But it's going to give us, honestly, this game and the Georgia and Auburn game are really our measuring sticks right now that we're going to have for Georgia. So this is what we got, and we'll have to watch it and see what we think about that Georgia offensive line, see how they transform in week 3. And I think this is a great opportunity for this defensive line to create some havoc stats. I think they need to have at least 4 sacks. Georgia needs to have at least 4 sacks this weekend. And I don't think there's any reason not to with the trouble that South Carolina's having on their offensive line. Over under 50 yards rushing for South Carolina. What do you think? What do you think? Under?
Under.
They can't run the ball.
They've only had 106 on the season. Well, if you factor in negative play. So, I mean, that's under 50 against Furman and North Carolina. So, averaging. So, yeah, I definitely think this is going to be under. They may be negative 50, honestly, by the end of the game. So,
I'm very interested to see it. They'll have something up their sleeve. Everybody wants their crack at number 1, and Georgia hasn't lost a regular season game since 2020.
Now,
so
what they need to do though is contain this Xavier Leggett, because he's averaging almost 150 yards a game. So that keep him under 100 yards, and you'll have a pretty good day, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Shouldn't be any problem for the Georgia Bulldogs, and but I am excited to see it. There's some at least a little bit higher level of competition this week for Georgia.
Yeah.
Let's move it on down the line. Alabama at South Florida. They'll smother them there. I will be a little bit interested to see how Alabama reacts to this. We talk about Alabama changing a lot. Let's see how they react to a home loss. We haven't seen them play after a home loss in years, right? Multiple years. I think they had a 19-game home winning streak or something like that. So this is the first loss they've taken at home in the regular season. Well, at least non-conference. And I want to see how they react. But probably nothing to see there. I want to see maybe the other quarterbacks, I guess, is really what I want to see. And it's weird. This is weird though. Alabama going to South Florida.
Yeah.
That's a little odd. And
it's on ABC.
Yeah, that's at 3:30. So people will be watching it. I don't get that though. That's interesting stuff there. Why we got the Missouri game at noon and we got Alabama at South Florida at 3:30? That's
the Missouri game's on the SEC network, and then on ABC at noon they've got Florida State and Boston College.
Yeah,
make sense.
That's going to be a horrible game. They're going to smush the crap out of them. San Diego State at Oregon State. This one is mildly interesting. San Diego State is not a bad team, and probably a team with all the moving around. And we're not going to sit here and talk a bunch of realignment, but San Diego State is probably a team that's going to end up in the Pac-12 / Mountain West, whatever the hell it ends up being. But we'll get one more chance to see Oregon State. They got some big games coming up. Oklahoma at Tulsa. They'll probably beat them 50-something to barely anything. They'll beat them pretty good. Tulsa's not very good this year. Minnesota at North Carolina. This one is kind of interesting. It's like a culture war here. Bringing the boys from all the way in Minnesota. They're going to row their boat all the way to Chapel Hill. What do you think about this one? I'm thinking, I don't really know about this one. I don't think Minnesota's got a very good offense at all. But North Carolina has absolutely no defense. I couldn't even begin to guess what the spread is on this game. Probably 7 in favor of North Carolina, I guess it would be.
7.5. You're pretty close.
Okay, 7 and a hook. Yeah, there's no way I'm taking that. I might take 7, but not 7 and a hook. Anybody can score on this North Carolina team, other than South Carolina, I guess. But this seems like weakness on weakness here. So do you have the over under right there?
Yeah, it is 50.
Yes. Okay. So they're thinking this is going to be a lower scoring game.
That's a
Interesting.
pretty favorable number, though. I mean, if you want to go
If
over that, that's pretty low.
That's pretty low, man. That's pretty low for. I guess they're counting on Minnesota's defense to hang in there pretty good.
Well, and for them to eat some clock running the ball.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And North Carolina's probably not going to be able to stop it. So, um,
Yeah.
interesting game there. I definitely want to take a look at that. And any chance you get to watch Drake May, you should do it because he won't be in college very much longer. And I really hate that he's spent his career in North Carolina. I know he's happy there, and that's great. But man, damn it, why couldn't he be, you know, somewhere where we could enjoy him a little bit more? Um, you got anything else on that one before I move on?
No, I mean obviously Vegas thinks it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a close game. You know,
I'll take North Carolina to win. By the way, we kind of messed up on some of our prediction videos. We talked about the game and we gave a lean, but we didn't pick a winner. But I'm picking North Carolina. What do you think?
yeah, I am picking North Carolina. This is one where I think that like North Carolina probably wins like 7 out of 10 times. So
Yeah,
I think that they're very much gettable by Minnesota this week.
yeah, yeah. Northwestern at Duke. Northwestern got them a win last week, and that's probably what'll have to satisfy their hunger for W's this year. As they'll be at Duke, and I expect Duke will absolutely manhandle them. Everybody's super excited. I see I tell you what, I get so wrapped up in our own top 25s, I don't even look at the AP anymore. So I didn't even know Duke was ranked 2021. Um,
Yeah.
I'm glad to see the rest of the country is coming to their senses. They think Duke and it's just basketball, but I'm telling you, they got something going on in
Oh yeah.
Durham. They've got something going on in Durham. Uh,
Well, it's taken a season and a half, or season and a fifth, I guess, to for the rest of the world to come around on Duke. But finally they're in
yeah.
the top 25.
Everybody said last year, well, last year Duke had an easy schedule, but it's Duke.
Yeah.
It's Duke, and they went 9-3. It doesn't matter. They played in the ACC, so everybody said that they got lucky because they got around Florida State and Clemson. Well, you know what? Maybe Clemson got lucky that they didn't have to play them, as it turns out.
Yeah.
Western Michigan at Iowa. Um, we'll do the line on that one just for giggles later this week. I bet the total on that one's mighty low. Good gosh. It'll probably be about 20 points scored in that game. Virginia Tech
Still
at
not really low.
Rutgers. Virginia Tech at Rutgers. Interesting. We ought to look at that one. That's a couple of really shit teams. I think Rutgers will probably win that game. But a couple of bad teams there. The toilet bowl, that we'll call that one. East Carolina at App State. App State looked pretty decent last week. Western Kentucky at Ohio State. Ohio State's got another chance to try out their new official starter and see if they can keep this offense progressing in the right direction. That one's coming on at 4 p.m. on Fox. UL Monroe at Texas A&M. A&M will get a chance to bounce back this week. They need to DJ Durkin has got to totally rethink this defense. Texas A&M fans, I don't know where y'all went. I guess all the internet went out in Texas because y'all are gone, just non-existent from the internet. And I guess I see why. I think Texas A&M fans were pretty high on the hog about this game this past weekend that they lost to Miami. So it'll be a chance for Texas A&M to bounce back, and we'll see how that team reacts. Everything's still in front of them, man. That wasn't a conference loss, so they're still right there in it for sure. Idaho at Cal, Tulane at Southern Miss, and that leads us to our 5 o'clock game that I will certainly be watching, and a game that I told you, Mason, I've already bet on, Washington at Michigan State. Michigan, we haven't even talked about it yet. Mel Tucker has been indefinitely suspended, and he will, I think, eventually be fired. But this thing's going to court, man. So it's going to be a situation, I think, that's going to be ongoing for a while. Got a couple of these court cases going on in the Big Ten with Northwestern and Pat Fitzgerald, and now at Michigan State with Mel Tucker. You know, I'm sure you've heard about it by now. Everybody, I guess, has. But there was some sexual assault claims that, Mel Tucker had sexually assaulted the lady that was at the school to talk to the players about sexual assault.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't make this shit up. What? I gotta calm down because this is about some of the dumbest. I mean, how could
It's
you
really
be so?
moronic.
How could you be
Like-
so stupid? And he's a
Like-
married man. I mean, you believe
Yeah.
whatever you folks want to believe, but he's a married man.
Morally, whether it was consensual or not, which he's claiming it was, morally it's unsound. So I think that you have to fire him just because he basically cheated on his wife. Whether it was a sexual, it's really sexual harassment, but whether it was sexual harassment or not, based on whether it was consensual or not, it was still like something like I'm in the military, and if you were to do something like this with another soldier, especially, but if the Army finds out that you cheat on your wife, they're gonna call your wife with you. You're gonna get kicked out of the Army, and if you get a divorce, you're giving up like 50%, alimony, no matter what. Like, it's pretty strict. So it's this is something that I take pretty seriously personally, but apparently Mel Tucker doesn't. But at the same time, on his side of things, I do feel like this is like very weird timing. The fact that they knew about this going back to March, and they wait until he's like won a game, and I don't know. It's just weird that they wait until now to bring it out, where maybe they were trying to like wait and see what he was going to do this year, and now that he's like underperforming again, they're saying, let's go ahead and move forward with this because now we can get out of his massive buyout, which they should have never given him in the first place.
Sorry about that.
So there's definitely like the conspiracy side of it where you just look and say like maybe the university is kind of like playing into this a little bit in some ways, and I don't know. It's all weird, why have a 37-minute phone call if you don't want to be on the other line?
Exactly.
There's
Right. And I heard Uncle Lou, this was a really good analogy. He said, them damn car warranty people call me all the time, and they're harassing me, but I hang up. I hang up the phone typically. And you know what? He's got a point, and I'm not making light of this situation. If there was a sexual assault or harassment, whatever the hell it is, I'm not some kind of legal expert. Certainly don't have any experience in that situation, thankfully. Anybody who claims this type of stuff, it needs to be taken seriously and it needs to be investigated. But we do got to reserve our judgment a little bit on some of it, as Mel Tucker has said it's consensual and he's fighting it. But here's the deal. Here's the deal. And this is a rhetorical question. I asked the audience. Actually leave it in the comment section what you think. If Mel Tucker was winning and he had a 10-win season last year and he had won every game so far this year, do you think we're hearing about this right now? Because I don't. This honestly sets Michigan State up very well in the future if they can get out of paying this. They gave him an outrageous contract. He's making about $10 million a year. And it's honestly crippling the financial department. I mean, just be honest with you, especially considering they're not winning games. There's not enough buzz about the football program. So Mel Tucker literally just gave them an out. And story is that this has been being investigated since December.
Yeah.
And there was one too many people that found out about it or were in a need to know basis and they leaked it. Somebody leaked the information because this is an this is an ongoing investigation. So somebody leaked that information and the timing definitely seems interesting in my opinion because it seems like Michigan State would be wanting a way out of this situation. Mel Tucker provides them one, and they take it. And the original story was he was fired, and then they come back. I guarantee you, Michigan State lawyers are saying, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! No, you're not. You're not fired. You're suspended indefinitely, uh, and pending this investigation." And I just can't believe this was going on since December, and we're just now hearing about it. That blows my mind, and the fact that the public learned about it before Michigan State took action is concerning. Um, it's concerning about Michigan State, and it does make me wonder about their motive and what's really of concern to them in this situation. Um, but to transition back to a football side of this, because that's what we talk about here on this channel. This isn't a news channel, and we don't know the ins and outs of the story and all that stuff is going to develop as time goes on. But um, at Washington at Michigan State this week, I went ahead and bet it, and I can't even remember what the number was because it was irrelevant. It didn't matter to me. Now, teams sometimes can have something like this, and they fire their coach, and the kids rally, right, and they rally for the coach. I don't gather that Michigan State is going to be rallying for Mel Tucker. I don't gather that in this situation. I don't think this is a situation where and I'm sure there are a few players that are saying, "Hey, that's my coach, and I'm gonna stand by him," and that's all well and good. But this is going to be a torn locker room. This is already a locker room where guys are transferring out at a high rate. All the great players of Michigan State have transferred out, like Keon Coleman, who's at Florida State. That's where he came from. Peyton Thorne left out last year. Um, tons of them, tons of them. So Michigan State was getting ready to make a decision anyway on Mel Tucker's future, I believe, at some point throughout the season. This just probably made it a little easier for them, but I don't think obviously Mel Tucker didn't handle himself in the correct manner. But I don't believe that Michigan State did a very good job in addressing this situation, being transparent, um, and every one of those kids in that program now gets a free transfer. So, going to be very interesting come, I guess, probably first weekend in December or the week after that, whenever the portal, I guess, officially opens. You're going to see guys flooding that portal, I do believe. Um, they have named an interim coach, and I don't. It was one of the assistants. Whatever. I don't know what good that does or whatever. You got to have a coach, I guess. But I'm taking Washington to cover here at Michigan State, whatever the spread is. I think Washington is about to tear this team apart. Washington is on a hot streak, and if they stay healthy, going to be very hard to beat Washington. And that's a big if because they don't have the depth that some of these teams have, like the Georgias, the Texas, the Bamas, all that. They don't have depth like those teams. But if they can stay healthy, from this point forward, watch out. Washington Huskies going to be a very tough team to deal with, and I think they'll thrash the Michigan State Spartans this week. Um, what's your take on all that?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's Mark D'Antonio is the old coach that
Yeah,
is
I heard
back
he
in.
did step up and he's helping. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So he stepped up, and so he'll be coming in. You got some experience. You got a better coach, honestly, than Mel Tucker was. Um,
Yeah.
so does that change anything in 1 week? No, absolutely not. So I think that Washington's going to absolutely thrash Michigan State, like you said. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking here. I don't think this is going to be close.
And that one's going to be at 5:00 p.m. on Peacock. Thankfully, I have Peacock. Um, Peacock. Wait, that's a chicken. Anyway, as somebody who had a peacock that lived in the woods behind my house as a child and it chased me around, I should know how to make a peacock sound, but I'm not going to try to do that on YouTube live. Um, let's see here. Northern Colorado at Washington State. I see Washington State creeped up into some top 25s. I said last week that some people are going to be having their eyes opened by Washington State and the quarterback situation that they've got over there. Pac 12 is just the bomb diggity this year. I don't know any other way to put it. Uh, Even their lowly teams are ranked and playing well. Don't have much on this game, but uh, Washington State is way more interesting out there in Pullman than people want to give them credit for, and they're going to play a lot of late games throughout the year, and people probably won't realize who that team is, but they're not bad for one of the lower tier teams in the league. Um, North Carolina Central at UCLA. UCLA has crept in the top 25. Already had them at 18 preseason. Talked about them a little bit before. Dante Moore is getting the start at quarterback, and guy's got a really high upside, but is a freshman, so you never know. It's game to game with a freshman at quarterback. But I will say he's extremely talented. Um, Georgia State at Charlotte, Villanova at UCF, Tennessee at Florida. This is a big one. This is a rivalry game. I'll go ahead and give you my take, and then we'll kind of go from there because I'll keep it pretty short and sweet. I'll take Tennessee by pretty much any margin on this game. I don't. I think Florida is a sitting duck here. I know it's at Florida. Um, I don't think tickets as low as $100. I don't think that this is going to be some crazed environment. I know the Swamp is pretty loud, but Florida's already lost one of their marquee matchups of the year. And everybody saw it and saw how bad they were. I don't think Florida fans are extremely happy with what's going on. I think this is a hamstrung offense with a decent defense. But we even saw Utah go deep on Florida, and Utah struggled to do that against anybody else. Did it the very first play of the game. Maybe they caught them off guard, but I expect Tennessee to bounce back after a lackluster week. Everybody was disappointed in what they did last week. There was a few things that I gleaned from it that I didn't love, but at the same time, they're getting ready for this game. No matter how good Florida is or how bad Tennessee is or vice versa, this is a rivalry game, and Tennessee has had a hard time, even last year, being a way better team than Florida, but it come down to an onside kick at the end of the game. And Tennessee was head and shoulders a better club than Florida. So, with all that being said, I think Tennessee has gotten over a hump. I think Florida is going through what Tennessee has gone through in the last few years. I don't think they have the right personality to win ball games. They're not programmed to win. I feel like Florida, every time they take the field, they feel like they're going to lose right now. And I think Tennessee is gonna bust their head out there in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. Already took the line was 7 whenever I got it, Tennessee by 7, and whenever I smashed that Washington bet, I went ahead and smashed the Tennessee bet too because I got a feeling that this team is going to put it on Florida pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, well, apparently the rest of the public was, I guess, thinking in the same lines as you, or might have that backwards. But anyways, it's down to 6.5 now. So, kind of
people are betting Florida then.
Yeah. So it's kind of moving the other direction, which it's really odd to me. I mean, I get it. I just think people don't understand just how bad Florida is. This is one where there aren't a whole lot of, when I'm looking through like my money line sprinkles, like there's not a whole lot of matchups you can choose that would be close enough to go after. And this is one where I'm like, yeah, it's Florida at home, rivalry game, 6.5, 7 point spread. Maybe Florida pulls it out. And if they do, it's going to be a great win for Florida and Billy Napier. But I just don't see it happening. I think Tennessee needs to come out and make a statement this week. And I think that they do that. This is going to be a high scoring game. The over-under is set at 59. I think that it's going to go over that. I don't think that either of these teams play defense very well. And Tennessee offense should probably put up about 40 just in general against Florida. So, I think Florida can put up, at least 25. So, anyways, I think Tennessee wins this pretty handedly, and that's really all I have on that.
Well, and I want to add one more thing to that. Tennessee has actually got a pretty sneaky good run defense, and the reason that I think Tennessee's going to run away with this one, essentially, is Florida wants to run the ball. They are having a really, really hard time getting the ball downfield to wide receivers that are open. This Tennessee defensive front is pretty good against the run, and I think they'll be good enough to slow Florida down pretty good bit and give their offense a lot of chances. And the problem is with this Tennessee offense, if you give them a lot of chances, if Florida can't move the chains by running the football, it's going to get really ugly because the more chances you get Tennessee, the more touchdowns they're going to hit. You've got to play keep away with them. And I haven't seen enough out of Florida's offense to say that this O-line is good enough to get a continuous push against this defensive line throughout the game. And with that being said, I'm taking Tennessee to win, and I will be taking them to cover, or already have. And maybe I should have waited. I thought the line would go the other direction. That's why I went ahead and bet it. And well, and maybe I'll go ahead and hit it again and get my half a point there, just in case. Let's keep it moving here. I will say it. Samford at Auburn. Yay. North Texas at Louisiana Tech. Murray State at Middle Tennessee. Northern Illinois at Nebraska. Vanderbilt at UNLV. Vanderbilt really needs that win right there. Miami of Ohio at Cincinnati. I am somewhat interested to see Cincinnati and Emory Jones continue what they got going on. South Alabama at Oklahoma State. Tarleton State at Texas Tech. Texas Tech will get their first win of the year. That's at 7 p.m. Louisiana at UAB. Prairie View A&M at SMU. SMU should win that one handily. Texas Southern at Rice. Duquesne and that's right, that says Duquesne, not Duquesne. At Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina will roll them. Stony Brook at Arkansas State. James Madison at Troy. San Jose at Toledo.
Real quick, James Madison at Troy might be a pretty good game.
Oh, yeah?
Just saying. We don't have to spend any time on it, but that might be a pretty good game. And for some reason, it's on the NFL Network. What?
Since when? See that? What is that?
Since when is that a thing?
What?
Anyway.
How is that even?
There's just so many pro prospects in that game. They're like, we got to put it on the NFL Network.
That's really odd. I have to say that's probably a first for me. I don't think I've ever seen that. Bowling Green at Michigan. Michigan is playing their normal, cupcake schedule. Georgia Tech at Ole Miss. Actually, so the spread was 20 before in favor of Ole Miss. I don't know what it is now, but it was like 20 and a half. And
19.
So it is coming down. I'm going to stay away from that one. Georgia Tech is another one of those teams. I feel like they are a lot better, but I don't think they know how to win ball games yet. And you don't have to pick them to win to pick the spread, obviously. but I would have liked it better at 20 for sure.
Are they better
Because
than Tulane? I mean, I don't think they are, but
I don't think so. Yeah,
better than Tulane that without their starting quarterback. I don't know, man.
it's probably
This is
closer than we realize. Yeah,
yeah. I feel like you know. I feel like, and really that in that Ole Miss Tulane game, it was actually pretty close up until like a last minute touchdown. So, um,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I could see it going either way. I really could.
Well,
It's in Oxford, so maybe that has something to do with it. But
if I had to
man,
take a guess, I'd pick Ole Miss to win, Tech to cover, probably.
yeah,
But
probably
I don't think
best.
I'm gonna. We'll see how the number moves towards the end of the week, but I think I'm staying off of that one. Um, BYU at Arkansas. I've actually kind of been looking forward to this one.
Yeah,
This will be a pretty decent test for Arkansas. And last year, Arkansas had to go out to BYU, and this year BYU will return the favor at Razorback Stadium in Fayetteville at 7:30 on ESPN2. Um, Arkansas, I haven't watched them a ton yet this year. There hasn't been a ton of reason to watch them, but I know this I'll be watching them this week for sure. I want to see this game, and this will tell us a lot about Arkansas and that offense. Um, I don't know how much it's going to tell us about the defense. I don't think BYU is very good on offense. They haven't been to this point in the season. Still, everybody's still trying to hit their stride on offense. So you should see the offenses catch up a little bit this week, I would think. Kind of did last week, I guess, with the total scores trending up. But I don't know what to think about this one. I'm gonna hold out. I'm gonna pick Arkansas to win, but I'm gonna hold out on any types of spreads with them until I get my eyes on them real good. Um, and kind of go from there. Arkansas and Texas A&M have got a matchup coming up pretty soon in Dallas, and I think this game right here will tell us. We've watched A&M play a decent team, what we think is a good Miami team as of this point in the season. We'll know more about Arkansas after this weekend, and that'll kind of be a measuring stick, I think, for later on in the year. What do you think about this one?
I think it's gonna be a really close game. At Arkansas, they really haven't looked that great, honestly, up to this point. Haven't been like watching every single play or anything like that, but they kind of struggled against Kent State from what I saw. And a Kent
Yeah.
State team, not the Kent State team of last year.
No.
They're not a very good team. So it's a little surprising. I think KJ Jefferson is one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, so to see him underperform is surprising. But also, Arkansas's got to face LSU, next week. So this may be a little bit of a look ahead game for them, and
Mm,
I'd be pretty careful with that against BYU. So it is at
yeah.
home for them, so that's good. But they've got a really tough road ahead of them. So just to give you after BYU, their next four is LSU, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and then Alabama. So it's a tough road for them after this game. They really need to win this game. I kind of want to pick BYU to win, but just the fact that they've got to go through that gauntlet of a schedule right after BYU, they might be circling this and saying, wait a second, guys, let's get the for sure win and really focus on BYU here a little bit, and then
Yeah.
we'll step into the SEC play and do what we can. But I want to pick BYU again, but I think that Arkansas is going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, I think they will too. This spread can't be much. It's got to be 6 or less, I would think.
Yeah, it's right at 8 actually.
Okay. All right. I would. Heck, I might take BYU on that one. We'll see. We'll see. Eight seems like a lot, but um, I like I said, I don't know much about these. I probably just need to hold out one more week on Arkansas. Um, All right, let's keep it moving. Akron at Kentucky. Kentucky's got another chance to figure out their situation, whatever that is. Syracuse at Purdue. Nope, not watching that one. Pitt at West Virginia. This is a great rivalry game every year. Pitt at West Virginia. This is always a really fun game,
It
and
is.
I bet you it
Yeah.
will be this year. Look, tickets are $142 to that game, and that's in Morgantown. So that should go to tell you right there how big a deal this is out there in West Virginia. I mean, $121. That's like $142. That's like a mortgage in West Virginia. Uh,
That's right. I've got it at 154, so that's a two bedroom mortgage.
yeah, exactly. That's a house on the side of a coal mine right there.
Yeah.
Um, but I, typically when I bet, I try to stay away from numbers that include the rivalry games here. But I'm taking Pitt in this one. I just don't have much faith in West Virginia. I know it's at home, um, but I don't think that matters that much. Just to be honest with you, uh, I think West Virginia is really bad, and I don't think Pitt is great either by any means. But I think their physical style of football is probably going to be able to prevail in this one. And this one's on ABC at 7:30. What are your thoughts?
I'm taking Pitt. They're a 1 point favorite. This is pretty much a pick 'em in my opinion, especially with it being at in Morgantown. So um, I'm excited to watch it. I don't know, based on the other games that are going on right there, I'm probably more interested in Georgia Tech and Ole Miss. But this will be an exciting game. Last year it was for sure. It was very back and forth, very fun to watch. But yeah, I'll be tuning in, kind of crossing back and forth between those two, and hopefully I'll be able to watch a good bit of this one because, like I said, they are fun games.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That'll be a good one. I do like some of these rivalry games that pop up in the middle of the year. We got Pitt, West Virginia, and then Kansas State at Missouri. A couple of good rivalry games this year. Wyoming at Texas. Um, First of all, I don't know why tickets are that low to go see Texas. You should be. This might be a historic Texas team. People need to be filling that stadium up. But um, I am I'm not touching this spread. I don't know what it is. It's probably really high. Wyoming looked decent, pretty daggum decent that first week. I don't think Texas Tech played a good game. I'm not saying, this is an awesome Wyoming team, but this is a team that beat Texas Tech in week one in two overtimes. Got a pretty good running attack. Uh, they had caught Texas Tech at elevation, which actually Wyoming is one of the highest elevated stadiums in the nation. People don't realize that. But now they're gonna travel to Texas, and is this a letdown spot for the Longhorns? I mean, we can talk football and matchups all we want to. There's not a matchup on the field that doesn't favor Texas in this game. So, we can just throw all that out the window, but that was an extremely emotional victory and a large monkey off the back of the Texas Longhorns last week, and I like the team. I like the persona of the team, but man, it's so easy to let your hair down after one of those. And um, will they ride the momentum, or will they play down to the level of competition this week and squeak out a victory? It doesn't really matter which way they do it as long as they win. But it'll be interesting to me to see how Texas responds to the successes, that they've had so far this year, and one of the best wins of the year, and probably will remain to be one of the best wins of the year in college football. Obviously, I'm taking Texas to win this game. I would not obviously take Wyoming, but one to watch, and I want to see if this Texas team is a true championship team. They're going to come out and they're going to demolish Wyoming and take care of business and get the backups in there. Um, Malik Murphy, Arch Manning. You need to be having Arch Manning play in the fourth quarter of this game. I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. And, we've seen Texas, especially as of late, we've seen them play down to the level of competition. and it is what it is. It's kind of who they are, what they've become. But I agree. How dare anybody pick against them at this point?
Yeah.
I don't think that they're going to lose this game, and I could definitely see them. I could definitely see Wyoming covering the 28.5 points, but
Big spread. Yeah.
it's a big spread. But I could also see Texas coming out and proving that they are a different team and that they're a playoff worthy team and a championship worthy team, and even a Xavier worthy team. So I could definitely see them. I could definitely see them coming out and hanging like 50 on this team, and Wyoming
Yeah.
scoring like 14. So I'm staying away from it, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Hawaii at Oregon at 8 p.m. Oregon gets a much needed easy win after an emotional victory last week. And one of the craziest covers I've ever seen. Came back and covered the spread on a pick six. Absolutely bonkers. And lots of people celebrated that one, Mason. It wasn't just you. But Hawaii at Oregon, not going to be much to glean from that game. Oregon's just looking to get some backups in and get some guys healed up, as I'm sure there's some lumped up guys, some bruised up players after that physical game that they played last week against Texas Tech in Lubbock. New Mexico State at New Mexico, um, rivalry game, I guess. Bragging rights for the desert. Sacramento State at Stanford. Florida Atlantic at Clemson. Clemson gets another chance to fine tune some things. TCU at Houston. This one's kind of a low key good game. It'll be interesting to see TCU. Didn't really hear anybody talk about them last week. After they lost to Colorado, everybody's writing TCU off, and obviously there was things that we didn't like that we saw. But now we know that Colorado is actually pretty good. So it'll be interesting to see. And Houston has been a big surprise this year. A lot of people thought that Houston wouldn't even make a bowl game this year, that it would be quite a struggle to win maybe even 5 games. And they've won a couple games that I think they probably shouldn't have. So, or maybe they should have, and they're better than we thought. Houston has got a good talent pool to pull from there. It'll be interesting to see how TCU's quarterback bounces back after a tumultuous start. I will check this one out, considering how late it starts and the other games that are going on in that time slot. I'll flip over and check that one out for sure, and check on Houston and TCU. You got anything on that one?
No comment.
Mason's not watching that one. Jackson State at Texas State. Texas State's one of those teams that has made I won't even say a comeback. They came out of nowhere, and have played some good ball so far this year. So, good for them. But they're playing the Jackson State there. Colorado State at Colorado. This is where game day's at. Oh my gosh, and it's a 10 p.m. kickoff. So they're going to be at game day. Man, there's going to be some pull up people at that game, man. They're going to be partying all day long, like 15 hours. They're going to be partying, tailgating. That's crazy. That'll be interesting. Fresno State at Arizona State, Kansas at Nevada, and UTEP at Arizona finishes out the night at the 11 p.m. slot on the Pac-12 network there. Not a great week of matchups. We do have some that are interesting. We got some sicko matchups. These are the weeks though, man. These quiet weeks are the ones where all of a sudden you get a game that goes away, that nobody thought. And we saw this a lot last year. And we saw weeks like this was one of the weeks in particular that I was talking about earlier, where we saw last year a lot of like top 10 teams, literally like every top 10 team struggle and not look good. So you just never know. You never know in college football, and that's why we love this sport so daggone much. You got anything else on the week 3 games? I am excited to see them. I've got a wedding that I'm going to on Saturday in Virginia, and I'll be watching. They'll have some games on and all that stuff. But if I had to pick a weekend to go and do something, this is probably the one to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's. I'm excited to see the good teams and what they do against bad teams. But that there's a lot of that going on, and
Yeah.
a lot less close games. We're kind of stepping into SEC play, but you know, Tennessee and Florida is probably the most competitive of the bunch. So not a super competitive weekend, but that doesn't mean that we can't learn a lot about these teams, and continue to pull data from what we see. And I'm excited to see some teams get better and see some good quarterback play. But yeah, it's not a great weekend, but we can take a little bit of a break in some ways and not have to pay attention to as many games, because that's as fun as it is, it can be very time consuming.
It was intense last weekend, man. I mean, it was like 8 to 10 ball. It really, the max I could watch was 9. 1 on my phone and 8 on on my TVs. And my wife is sitting there looking at me like, how do you even know what's going on? You know, it definitely took a lot of concentration. And I mean, typically I'm the type that's hooting and hollering during games, and I was more like, I mean, I was quiet, in my chair and studying, and I felt like I did learn a lot, though. I'm not gonna lie, I learned a lot about these teams. Some stuff that I liked and some that I didn't. But we want to thank everybody for tuning in, and if you're watching the recorded version or the live version right now, thank you so much for tuning in. We sure do appreciate it. We're starting to grab some traction on the show. Our shows are being viewed by more and more people. And what we really need is some video likes and some subscriptions. If you're watching this, please help us out and subscribe and leave us a comment and like the videos so that we can keep bringing you college football content, in a free manner, and we can enjoy it together, as this is going to be a great season, I know. But for Marcus and Mason and the First and Long team, thank you again for tuning in, and everybody have a good night, and we will see you on Thursday for Between the Lines. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Have a good night.